Welcome everyone, or nobody, who knows, to UnEarthed, Wiki Obscurities. This is a podcast about finding weird, interesting, obscure, banal, or otherwise unusual articles on Wikipedia. My name is Adam, pronouns he, him. You guys?
My name is Jill, or you can call me Pink, she, her. Or they, them. That works too.
My name is Cass, or Cassandra. My pronouns are she, her.
All right.
Welcome in, everyone. Hell yeah.
For anyone who's here,
Anybody?
if they happen to
nobody?
if you're actively seeking for this, if you happen to chance upon it, either way, glad they're here.
If you're actively seeking this, please reconsider.
Well,
Or don't reconsider.
Don't reconsider.
Don't stay.
We don't want them to reconsider. Yeah,
No,
stay. All right, e-begging time is over.
Like, subscribe, press the bell.
Make sure to smack that like button, and I don't know. It kind of hurt. It kind of hurts, but
skip all of that. I'll give you my home address, and you can just send me money.
True. Or you could do none of that. We're not going to stop you.
Yeah.
Because that's completely fine too.
Put physical United States dollars inside an envelope and mail them.
Mail it to this anonymous address.
To my P.O. box. No address actually. Just we're doing a fucking like
leave it in like the dead drop somewhere.
Yeah, we're doing a dead drop.
Just like they leave the porn in the woods.
No.
Okay, we're not doing this again then.
No, spoilers. We will be talking about porn.
Okay, good. Well, I mean, it's video.
Excellent.
Well, actually, no, we haven't gotten to
as we should
elaborating on the topic yet. So I'll wait to hold off till then.
We haven't gotten to the porn yet.
Yeah.
The way this works is we start with a main article. Everyone starts with a main article, and everyone goes down their little pathway, their little rabbit hole, down through Wikipedia to see what kind of weird bullshit they find. And each of us, well, not each of us. This was a whole last minute thing, so
yeah.
Not each of us. Some of us.
I found out I was going to be here like 24 hours ago. So.
That's okay. You know, again, this is how good things happen. You know,
spontaneously.
No preparation. We'll be presenting our little rabbit holes. You know, in a fun way. We're gonna bullshit about it.
Exactly.
That's the theme. Is bullshit apparently
a recurring motif throughout the series. If this becomes a series.
Our series of 0 episodes so far.
Well, I mean, 1. Or like half.
Look, I'm calling this episode 0 because, like, you know,
it's like the pilot.
Yeah, it's the pilot.
We're testing the waters.
Anyway, video games. This is where we start. We start at the topic of video games. If you want to follow along, you can open up a tab on Wikipedia. Go to video game.
Yeah, the one, video space game from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia.
The free encyclopedia that anyone can edit.
Yeah.
A video game, sometimes further qualified as a computer game, is an electronic game that involves interaction with a user interface or input device, such as a joystick, controller, keyboard, motion sensing device, to generate visual feedback from a display device. Commonly shown in a video format on a television set.
I'll take over if you want. Computer monitor, flat panel display, or touch screen on handheld devices or a virtual reality headset. Most modern video games are audio-visual, with audio complement delivered through speakers or headphones, and sometimes with other types of sensory feedback, like haptic technology. This is the most like bare bones explanation ever.
First paragraph I've ever read.
Well, they kind of
literally have a note.
They all need basic like entry level stuff.
But this is like everything ever invented.
Yeah, we're basically trying to explain a video game to a caveman right now.
Is there any more that you would like me to read on this page?
Oh my god, I have another paragraph that I had a note on.
All right,
the first video game prototypes in the 1950s and 1960s were simple extensions of electronic games using video-like output from large room-sized mainframe computers. The first consumer video game was the arcade video game Computer Space in 1971, which took inspiration from the earlier 1962 computer game Space War! !
Space War!
That's how you say it. You have
Yeah.
to say it every time.
You have to say it like that.
I find it very interesting how much of like this, as early as you can go, like gaming history is just fucking gone. You have to like dig in like insane archives to like even find any trace of it, because it was just guys fucking around. Like
Speaking of that, can I
off the
segue?
clock.
Can I segue into the first page that I wrote about?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So right down in the origin section talks about how early video games were interactive electronic devices with display formats, and their earliest example is from 47, the cathode ray tube amusement device, which I'm going to call the CRT ad from now on. Opening that page. Okay.
I'm always amusing myself with devices.
Who
what can
up
I say?
amusing theyself with their cathode ray tube device? Me. Okay. So the cathode ray tube amusement device was like the first known idea of something that would be considered like interactive electronic video gaming. Not really video gaming, which is mentioned that under many definitions, the device is not considered a video game, as while it had an electronic display, it didn't run on a computing device because it was made entirely out of analog electronics by two guys who design TVs.
That's
in
a
New
video game. That's a video game.
Yeah,
it's a game you play with video.
Yeah. So it was. I found attached to it. There's a circuitry schematic from the patent, actually, but I can't read circuitry schematics, so that's kind of useless. Yeah. So the CRT ad was like a CRT screen with like oscilloscope circuits and a bunch of switches and knobs on it, which projects spots on the screen, which will trace an arc because it's about just like shooting targets. That's all it was. There were targets on the screen, and you absolutely needed to just shoot them with whatever, because I think it was supposed to be about like, I don't know, it's like artillery something or whatever.
Oh, like training?
Yeah.
Like a training thing?
Well, no, not really.
Or no, just fucking around. Okay,
yeah.
I get.
Well,
okay.
I mean, what's that?
Missile command?
Yeah, like Missile Command. It's like Missile Command, kinda, but not really. Yeah. It came with like transparent, like plastic targets that you put on the screen for things like airplanes and stuff like that. And then you would have to like get the timing of the shell, because if it was like a timed fuse or something, to make sure it would arc into the right spot and explode at the right time.
This is the first simulator, is what it is.
the first simulation type game. The first mil sim, dare I say it.
Mil sim! Oh no. Warframe or not Warframe, War Thunder 0, yes.
Yeah, War Thunder like -2. Yeah. So it was designed by two guys, Thomas T. Goldsmith Jr. and Essel Ray Mann, who were television designers at Dumont in New Jersey. Dumont was previously a television equipment manufacturer who also made like oscilloscopes and like assorted other electronic analog bullshit. Amusement
devices.
Well, no, it was just these two guys.
Depending on what you're amused by, okay.
Well, yeah. They were really... so Goldsmith worked on radar displays used in World War II. And he was like really enthralled by that, so that's why he was inspired by it to create a game using similar circuitry. This was only built by two guys with like leftover parts, and so it never actually reached production or anything. There was a patent, but it was never built by anybody else at all. The patent itself was not discovered again until 2002. So the patent was filed in 47, by the way. So that's a really, really long span of time. Patent was not discovered until 2002, when David Winter, a French electronics collector, searching for early prototypes of the 1972 Magnavox Odyssey, found the patent in a set of documents in an archival warehouse, originally compiled for a 74 lawsuit by Magnavox against several arcade game companies. For what? I don't know. It links to a page, but it's all in French. But that's all I could really find on the CRT ad. But from a strictly historical standpoint, it might not be all that interesting, but it's fascinating for the context of the history and other games to come for it, with stuff like Space War and Tennis for Two. But I digress. Moving on.
Tennis for Two is wonderful. I would just want to say I know a little bit about Tennis for Two. Yeah. It's just like it's just tennis from the side, I like that you can set different like gravity settings on it. I like that they thought that through. You can play tennis on like Saturn or something.
Yeah, it was like 1958, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah,
This is
58.
not something I read about.
Okay. I mean, if you go into Origins, it's literally there.
Uh-huh.
So I do believe you did say that was the 1972 lawsuit with Magnavox, correct?
74.
It was a 74 one. Okay.
Yeah, it was a
'Cause
74 lawsuit.
I do know a little bit about the lawsuit from 1972. That was actually between Magnavox and Atari, and they were trying to bring a couple other companies in there. Basically all around Pong. Magnavox was basically like, "Hey, we own we own Pong. You don't own Pong." Yeah, that didn't go very well. So
Yeah, I can imagine how it didn't go that well.
This is also a theme on my end, is just like how fucky like early arcade games were.
Very,
Just
very.
everybody is just like the worst person ever. Nobody knew what was going on. Just nerds fighting each other over like rights for shit. It's incredible.
On the topic of Atari, I want to bring up something interesting that I read, is that one of Atari's co-founders also went on to found Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes, Nolan Bushnell. Right?
Yeah, Nolan.
I have a thing on him.
Oh, wait. Okay, we'll probably get to that eventually then.
Maybe. I think it's just a note in my summary here.
Fair enough, yeah.
I'll
I just had a note that was just like, one of Atari's co-founders also was responsible for Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. Man unleashes horror on the world that just won't die.
Man, unfortunately, brings Five Nights at Freddy's into the world indirectly.
Whether he knows it or not.
I mean, he probably knows now. Yeah.
He indirectly made Markiplier famous.
Yeah.
I also have a note here about the term video game was developed to distinguish this class of electronic games that were played on some type of video display, rather than on a teletype printer, an audio speaker, or similar device. This also distinguished from many handheld electronic games like Merlin, which commonly used LED lights or indicators, but did not use these in combination for imaging purposes. I have one of these like shitty like electronic games, and it's terrible. Like
awesome.
I wouldn't count it as an amusement. It's they call it an electronic amusement. It's not that. It makes beeps. The little lights update maybe once every 30 seconds. It's I don't know how it works. It does not follow any of the rules of soccer or football or whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
It just lights up randomly, and sometimes you get a score. And you know,
I got something around here actually.
I feel so bad for anyone who bought one of those. I would literally rather just like argue with someone in my head before I like, you know, play electronic soccer. There's a chance I might still win an argument with someone in my head.
Yeah, I got something that's probably pretty interesting to the discussion since we're talking about like early games and consoles. I think somewhere around here I got a Game & Watch actually.
Oh, hell
like
yeah.
like
the Game & Watch is a real game, though.
Well, yeah, the Game & Watch is a real game.
Some of the older ones, it's debatable, but
it's debatable. But yeah, I got Donkey Kong on the Game & Watch from '82.
Hell yeah!
This thing took like a really, really long time to get running because the batteries in it hadn't been changed since like '89 or something.
Oh no!
And actually, nothing was damaged. I just had to figure out what kind of batteries they were because back then it was still using a different classification of batteries, still from Japan. So I had to look up and do research on what kind of batteries they actually use for this, like nowadays in America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's loud as fuck too.
It screams at you.
Yeah, it's a lot of beeping. It's very loud. But it's pretty cool to have, just for the sake of like history and everything. It's like one of the flip-up ones too.
Ooh, is it like the dual screen one?
Yes, it is.
The original DS. Cool.
Yeah, it's the dual screen flip one. Yeah. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Back on topic.
Let's see, what else do we got here? I'm just working my way through my notes here. I'm skipping anything that is stupid. Let's see. Oh, I have one here. This is about genres. This was filed under genres.
Oh,
under the main topic. A video game, like most forms of media, are categorized into genres. However, unlike film or television, which use visual or narrative elements, video games are generally categorized into genres based on their gameplay interactions, since this is the primary means which one interacts with the video game.
Yeah.
So some genres have derivations from influential works that have influenced the genre, such as roguelikes from Rogue,
Which
GTA clones. Oh, go on.
Oh, no, go on. I'll talk about it when you're done. My bad.
GTA clones from Grand Theft Auto 3 and Battle Royale games from the movie Battle Royale. And I just want to, this
For
this
example,
puzzles me.
First-person shooters were originally
What?
called Doom clones based on the
Yes.
1993... Like all FPS games at one point?
All of them, yes.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So,
I
I
there
could really
was
piss off somebody by saying that, like, your favorite shooter's a Doom clone. I'm sorry, man.
Yes. Yes, you could.
Well, now they just call them fucking either COD clones or
Fucking boomer
Fortnite
shooters
clones.
or whatever.
Boomer shooters.
That's such a
it's
dumb
still
word,
Doom
honestly.
clone. It's still they're still calling it a Doom clone, calling it that.
They
Yeah.
are.
Alright, okay. Back on topic?
Fucking Battle Royale. I was losing my mind over here. I don't
From
know
the
why
movie Battle Royale.
they name dropped the movie Battle Royale. I want to know, like, what the like, how did the movie Battle Royale, a random like Japanese movie from like 2000, right?
Yeah, it's
how did
2000
that-
on the dot.
How did that become like culturally relevant enough in gaming for it to like stick around for another 20 years and then be like, oh, we'll name our genre after this movie? Like, what was going on there? I don't think the movie was like that good. I think it's just like a movie that kept ending up in listicles because it has an interesting premise, right? Is it like actually a good movie? I don't know. It's straight, like, if they fucking named Fortnite Battle Royale after this movie from like
From
15
2000.
years before, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, now that makes me interested. What is the first Battle Royale game?
oh god, I mean,
I'm gonna look that
That's-
up real quick.
yeah, that's probably complicated.
Yeah.
I remember playing like Battle Royale modes on like Counter-Strike.
Unfortunately,
Source.
I am going to be going on. Oh, genre's origins arose from mods for large-scale online games like Minecraft and Arma in the early 2010s.
That's where like DayZ came
that
from
makes
too.
sense, actually.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I looked it up and I found like a Reddit post and it was like, oh, if you think about it, it'd be Minecraft, and it's like, are you being dumb or are you being serious? But it's like, no, they're serious.
Oh god. And then additionally under genres, they have a types of games section. And one of the sections is called serious games. And I'd like to point out that they consider advertising games as a type of
Serious?
serious game. And then literally in the next sentence, they cite Pepsi Man as a serious game.
It's peak.
Holy-
It's peak. The most
Holy
serious game of all
man.
time. The most serious
You know,
game.
My brain was going to Sneak King, but I mean, if we want a real serious game.
We
need to bring back like dumb mascots who exist just to like promote a single concept and not like not even a product, just a concept. Have I ever told you about Dent Man?
No, what the fuck?
Okay. So this is a vaguely tangential rabbit hole, but one time I found out about how there's a Japanese like superhero they invented who exists solely to promote dental hygiene. And his name is Dent Man, and he's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
And he just posts shit like, don't forget to brush your teeth, and what the fluoride? And it's like,
Alright.
yeah, he's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I love Dent Man. It's great. It's great. I love him so much. Relevant image.
Oh my god. Wolves have teeth.
Even wolves have
Holy.
teeth. Brush your teeth. Yeah, probably one of my favorite like stupid mascot accounts of all time. But okay, back on topic. That was
Japan.
way too off topic.
Japan's birth rate going down, but Japan's like dental
Hygiene rate going up
through
to the sky. It's going to the heavens. It's going so far to the heavens that the dental hygiene is going to be punished by God to speak different languages.
I'm gonna skip the part about ludology and narratology because that is extreme yapping. I don't narratology.
Oh, ludo narrative.
Fuck, like literally, I have a note here, and then I started talking about my opinion, and I'm like, we're in white man video essay territory. I'm done. We're done with this.
Yeah. Yeah. How Bimple's Big Adventure 2 was truly the greatest game of its generation and perhaps even all time.
The secret meaning behind this
forgotten classic, and it's like a game that everybody knows. Classic, like, hidden gem, and it's like...
The narrative genius of Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, I'm upset because I can imagine a video actually called that. Okay. So, on the topic of, it's so retro, if Mario then only Bros, of course, Nintendo. A lot of facts that people like to bring up about Nintendo is like, oh, Nintendo was founded in the 1800s, and it's like, yes, it was. Nintendo was founded in 1889, pretty sure, by, I think his name was Fujisaru something.
John Nintendo.
Yamauchi. But he was a craftsman who founded a company to make playing cards. Japan, like, at the time, they just recently unbanned gambling, so they had more people making cards. And so Mr. Yamauchi over here decided to make a company to produce and distribute, like, cards that he made by himself. And nobody knows what he meant when he called the company Nintendo. Like, legitimately. Nobody knows what he means. Not even his children knew. Not even his children's children knew. Nobody knows what Nintendo is supposed to mean. Hanafuda cards had become popular after Japan banned most forms of gambling in 1882, but still tolerated playing cards for Hanafuda specifically. So that's why he made cards for... He didn't make any, like... This was around the time where they were, like, having, like, weird... It's where they had, like, all the white guys come up on their coast and, like, hey, check out this stuff. Yeah.
Look at my giant ship, dude. You've never seen this before, I bet.
I'm pretty sure it was the Portuguese who introduced Japan to playing cards.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of, like, Portuguese stuff that, like, hangs around in, like, Japan.
Yeah. I don't know. Cultural intersection is awesome, I think.
It can be.
Yeah.
It
can be, but sometimes it's not that good.
Sometimes you get, like, fucking... I don't know, dude. Like...
Yeah.
Like, the world's worst, like, fusion food taco you've ever had in your life, and it costs $35.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go to the food truck, they're like, oh, you've got fish tacos and it's salmon. Like, I'm gonna throw this taco at you.
Yeah, I'm imagining, like a cold, sad, like, tiny little wheat tortilla with, like, a single slice of salmon and, like, some cabbage. It tastes like eating I know, it has the texture of, like, eating a diaper.
Ugh. I cannot imagine that at all. All right, so back to you, Adam. What was it you were going to segue into? I just wanted to bring up Nintendo's origins. Probably come back to them later.
I have a little bit here. Well, I don't have Nintendo's origins, but I have a little later on them. I have I copy pasted the kind of the history of the industry, a little paragraph. The early history of the video game industry and following the first game hardware releases and through 1983 had little structure. This is very important. Video games quickly took off during the golden age of video games from the late 70s to the early 1980s, but the newfound industry was mainly composed of game developers with little business experience. This led to numerous companies forming simply to create clones of popular games to try to capitalize on the market.
To capitalize on the more popular stuff.
Yes, we will steal. We will lie. It doesn't matter. I don't give a fuck.
That's just how industry is. That's just how it is.
Although, but like, then 1983 happens and like all the video games are shit. And then, all this, everyone knows. Well, not everyone maybe, but hopefully if you're this far in, I love how fucking fraudulent the video game industry is. I wrote this before I went down my rabbit hole. And it gets worse. It's at this point, it's such like a deeply unserious industry, and like nobody had like any idea what was going on. There's like a billion companies called like Cyber Sun Limited or some shit, making like the worst video game you've ever seen in your life, and like you buy 10 of them, and they're like the equivalent of hundreds of dollars in today's money for like one game, and then you buy them. And you get home, and it's just like 5 copies of like the worst game of Asteroids you've ever played in your life.
Yeah.
And you had no idea until you bought them every single time. But like it's just such like a fucking fraudulent industry. It's just like guys in their garage just like making some shit because they have access to a computer. And like
That's just how it is.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
and then
Early
there's like
software in general was that.
another guy that has like a little bit of money because he like put it in a bank account before the war, and now he has like $50,000, and he's like, well,
now he's
shit.
like 50,000 in like the year 1977 or something.
Yes, so which is like $10.7 trillion in today's money. So he like he lets these like fucking losers make a video game, and he like lets them put it on a cartridge because he's like, oh, video games will make money.
It proceeds to not make money.
Yes, and
You
then
know.
this exact same thing happened like 500 times across the entire world.
Okay. I figured a good place to segue into a lot of things was going into the page for video game genres, just
Ooh,
as a
okay.
whole. It gives an interesting thing with the history, is that, reading directly from the article, early attempts at categorizing video games were primarily for organizing catalogs and books. A 1981 catalog for the Atari VCS, the 2600 that we know, uses 8 headings: Skill Gallery, Space Station, Classics Corner, Adventure Territory, Racetrack, Sports Arena, Combat Zone, and Learning Center. And for context, the Classics Corner is referring to games like chess, checkers, etc. But it looks around in Nintendo, bringing the Famicom to America, look to avoid the issues with loss of publishing control that led to the 83 video game crash, to prevent unauthorized games from being released to the system. Sorry, Cyberzone Limited.
Filed for bankruptcy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
over.
Yeah. So Nintendo started classifying their games because they need to all be approved for the NES. So they had 8 major series for those two: adventure, action, sports, programmable, light gun, arcade, robot, and educational.
How many games released in programmable?
We don't know. But
Okay.
around when the SNES and the Game Boy came out, they removed they had retired like a huge amount of their stuff, so they removed 5 different categorizations: arcade, light gun, robot, programmable, and educational. But in their place, they added RPG, simulation, and puzzle. So that's the earlier, well, really the origin of how people classified video games, and eventually, due to the fact that this is all like completely subjective anyways, I still don't even know why we have like the industry classify their games. It's like, again, it's all subjective. Why are we trying to like fit everything into a neat little box? I don't know. But that's all I got for now, at least until I can segue into something else.
For genres.
So I did want to actually expand on the programmable series just a little bit, because it's actually a very small segment in the NES's library of literally 3 very early games. And the only thing that meant that they were programmable was that you could create your own levels inside the game.
So do you think that means Excitebike would classify?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, actually, that is one of the 3 games, is Excitebike. That's one of the 3 programmable games,
So
along with Mock
get-
Rider.
Okay. Mock
Okay.
Rider? Let me guess
Yes.
Can I guess the last one?
Yeah, go for it.
NES games let you make your own level. Would that be Wrecking Crew then?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That is the 3rd game.
Alright.
So, yeah, like those games, they could still technically be in other series, but they are in the programmable series. The only problem is that none of those games have either a code system or a save system.
So they were just on the cartridge.
Yeah, like you can make a level inside the game. The second you reset the console to turn it off,
It's not
levels go.
safe. Yeah.
They were bozo.
It was completely gone forever.
I imagine like Nintendo Power has like an entire page of just like a spread of like, here's a track you can make, and then you have to manually input it one piece at a time.
Yeah.
You can erase it once and say, wow, that was pretty okay.
Little 9-year-old boy in like 1986 writing down his Excitebike map on like a little piece of paper to like go show it to his friends. Exactly. I'm like passing it to his like friends at school, and it's like, oh, this is like the hardest level, but I beat it in this time. Can you beat me?
Yeah, as we can see, it's understandable why they never used the programmable series ever again for the NES.
There was no saving, and there were only 3 games that used it.
Yeah. Even though there was one series that actually had less games than that.
Was it Robot? Robot has like 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
The robot
Rob,
series
yeah.
used for Rob, there's 2 games.
Yeah, 2 games. Well, before I go into... No, I just went into a different page, so I think somebody else should go into another page first. Yeah, I'm starting to go down further the rabbit hole into, like, the specific kinds of things that I want to talk about, but I don't want to derail the whole thing into, like, my ramblings and hyperfixation.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I also want to say they should take Steam and put it back in like Atari categories. I think we need that. I also think we should go back to naming games like Atari did. We should just name things like sports.
Just name like the one word that's like
Yes.
vaguely, yeah.
A game about adventures, we call that shit adventure. Okay, it's on the cover.
Game about skateboarding, skateboarding. Not with a G though, with an N and an apostrophe.
Yeah,
because it's cool like that.
Yeah, I can't wait for the return of combat.
They're gonna Atari or not Atari, fucking Activision rebrands Call of Duty as just combat.
You know, we might as well also bring back the wonderful Atari 2600 game of basic math.
Some of y'all need to play this game. Reading comprehension. I think the funniest thing I wrote down in my notes about video game genres, I had like a couple paragraphs of actual notes and then one note that just says, genres are incredibly subjective, and then nothing else.
just put that at the top of the page.
Yeah, that's just all the note says. Yeah.
See, now I'm just sitting here wanting a copy of Basic Math for the Atari 2600, just
like passing it over to somebody when you're upset at them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna formally go down my little rabbit hole here. This is step 1. This is the first click after I was done reading the video game article. I am now on the article for the Museum of Soviet Arcade Machines.
Awesome!
It's so
What?
good. I'll read our first
That's
little paragraph
awesome.
here. The Museum of Soviet Arcade Machines is a private historical interactive museum that keeps a collection of arcade machines that were produced in the USSR from the mid-1970s. This is just right at the end. This is like in the preservation section. There's like a random little link to this wonderful page. Almost all the games here are just exact clones of Western machines, but
awesome.
Quotation marks, modified to fit Soviet ideologies.
WarioWare, except like every minigame is shooting a guy who you disagree with.
No, it's like the super fast one, like
Yeah.
you get like jump scared by like
you get like the Rush minigame where you gotta like hit the button to like shoot the officer or something.
Yes. The rest of them are just like factory work.
Yeah, it's like it's factory work, tilling the fields, shooting a guy you don't like.
No, it comes up with like a little text thing. You like have to parse out if it's like anti-Soviet.
You have to parse out if it's like seditious or not. Yeah.
So the way this happened, the way there is even Soviet arcade machines, is they had like an exhibition of like Western arcade machines in like Moscow, right? And like all the Soviet manufacturing people went there just to like, big quotation marks, look. They played all the games. They went back and they made exact clones, but like they didn't have any of the parts, so they just had to like make it up. so there's an anecdote I read.
I don't know how this works, man.
Yeah, literally, they, like something that like would in like the Western version would be like a microchip. Like the game would be controlled with like a single chip. They had to do it all like in analog circuits, so it's just this nest of wires doing what one chip would do, and this is like for all of them.
It's the filthy capitalist witchcraft. We can't. We need to humble it down to our such glorious socialist standards.
Yes. It's powered by light bulbs.
Yes, but make sure that it's humbled enough. Otherwise, the chairman's going to kill you.
Yes.
Do you think there was like Soviet controversy over video games causing violence?
I don't think so. I don't think they had. I don't think.
Okay, their games weren't violent enough then.
No, I don't think so. Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see here.
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
There's. I have some names. A list of names I found on here.
Of games?
There's some games I found. There's one just called Highway. There's one called
classic Atari naming ass.
Tank Training Area, which this is our Soviet ideologies, sneaking in here. There's another one called Snow Queen, and then my favorite one I found is called The Giant Turnip.
So that's what that was about.
This is a Soviet arcade machine. It's not really an arcade game, but it's not a video game per se. Here, I'll send a picture of it.
Snow Queen isn't like, I don't know, funny thing, like Snow Queen is like, isn't that a fucking like 1800s fairy tale by like a Danish man?
I think so.
Is it? Yeah. The Snow Queen short story by Hans Christian Andersen. Yeah.
This is The Giant Turnip.
Awesome.
This is.
Do you like pull on the turnip?
Shit.
Yes.
Oh, that's absolutely what it is. That's awesome.
Yes, it's awesome. I found a video of it. Okay, so for anyone that is listening audio only, this is, imagine like instead of one of those like hammer strength test machines, it's a you pull on it kind of a machine. So it's like tilted back at a 45-degree angle. It's like bright yellow, and then there's just like this giant.
There's a hole with a thing in it that's
handle,
vaguely shaped like a turnip, and it has like this giant handle.
It's like a
kind of looks like a zipper tab.
Yes, it's like a little red metal weight in there, and then like a zipper tab kind of thing, like rubberized. And you brace your leg on this 45-degree angle thing and just yank it as hard as you can.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the place where you step on, it's literally just like plywood.
Yes.
It's not even like
video games
crazy.
are too woke. We got to return to tradition.
Return
the
to
giant turnip.
yes.
The giant turnip.
Return to This is our cozy farming simulator right here.
The Soviets made cozy farming sims? Stardew Valley, except you're in like the Siberian wastes and you can't actually farm anything.
If you try to build your own house, you just get sent to the super gulag.
Yeah. If you try to like sell your plants or keep them instead of giving them to the government, you die. It's like an instant game over.
The real kicker is the top 10 people in the high score and this get put on the turnip farm.
Yeah.
But yes, there's a video game of this. Apparently, it's like the weight on this thing, like the actual tension on it, it's like I don't know. This is from memory. I didn't make a note of this. It's like 200 like Newton meters or something. So like you'd have to have a truck to actually like max out like the pull on it.
Yeah, the pull on the turnip.
Yes. It's such a whimsical thing. I love it. There's also another picture on this page of a game apparently just called Quiz, or it translates to Quiz. And it's just a giant contraption. It's like a giant screen of lights with a giant panel of buttons at the bottom, and they all match to like they all match to like traffic signs. So
that's
like
awesome. That's kind of awesome, actually.
I guess you get quizzed on traffic signs.
They should have these in the DMV because a ton of people just can't drive.
I agree. You need to pass the game before you get going.
Yeah, you need to beat the ancient Soviet technology in order to drive.
It's just this machine just covered in like those like little circular European style like traffic signs. And they all
have like tons of tiny buttons too. Yeah. There's two screens. There's like the one that's like where the questions would probably come up, and then like the control panel, which is each sign with an individual button.
Yes.
Yeah.
I also have another beautiful thing. I did a little supplemental Googling because I felt the Wikipedia article was missing some context here. And I was wondering if there were screenshots of any of the actual like video arcade machines. There fucking is. I found one. It's called Catfisher. Kotribolov.
Holy moly.
This is Big the Cat's Eastern Bloc cousin.
Exactly. It's Big the Cat's Eastern Bloc cousin. It's this big fucking big man cat. Okay,
this was nicknamed the Soviet Mortal Kombat.
He's just straight up double fisting fishing poles.
He's sitting on a little pier, this giant yellow cat with big ass whiskers.
With
there's little
fishing poles.
Little cat tails. I love that there's little cat tails next, like around him, like the plant.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and you fish. That's it. It's great. I want to emulate this somehow. I need to play this game.
Web fishing if it was good.
Yes. Soviet web fishing. That was step one of my little rabbit hole. The Museum of Soviet Arcade Machines. It's wonderful. I had a great time reading this. But I stepped back out of the rabbit hole a little bit, and I went to the main page for arcade cabinets. Not arcade games, arcade cabinets. Turns out there is a lot of different kinds of arcade cabinets. I mean, you'd think that's pretty self-explanatory, but like there's a whole classification. There's like, deluxe cabinets and like, stand-up cabinets and like, bar table cabinets and all these sorts of things. But I like the little Japanese, like they're called candy cabs, because they're like, it's those white shiny ones. If you go into like the arcades in Yakuza, we're bringing it back around. It's the little white ones that you sit at. Those things are wonderful. I'd love one of those, but I know they're probably stupid or are they expensive? I mean, they're probably expensive, but there's like so many of them. There's like
those in terms of arcade cabinets are usually on the cheaper side.
Yeah, kind of.
The problem is not a ton of them make it outside of Japan. So if you like actually want a Japanese one, you are going to be paying money to get it into the country.
Yeah, I know someone who did, and it's like they paid to like ship it to the US, then they had to like take it apart to take it into their apartment, and like it barely fits in the stairs. I'm like, what are we doing here? You have to take it out too,
I mean, to be fair, you could do a whole episode on just arcade cabinets. Like that's a real freaking deep rabbit hole.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's kind of what I ended up doing. That's kind of what I picked here, unintentionally even. But this rabbit hole is not this next thing I went on. It's not too obscure, right? I mean, if you're in it, if you're in the trenches,
you're in the thick of it.
If you're in the thick of it, hold on to that one. Okay.
Holy moly!
Full scale Ridge Racer.
Full scale. Yes, this is what I went down. I like opened the image and there was a link at the bottom, and I didn't realize it would just take me straight to the page for this, or the page that contains information about this. Well, actually, no. First, it takes me to the page for Ridge Racer, which has a subcategory for this. But yes, what we are looking at right now is Ridge Racer Full Scale. It is a let's see. I had made a nice note. They took a real ass Mazda Miata, or Yunos Roadster if you're in Japan. They built the whole fucking game around it, the entire thing. Ridge Racer is one of the first texture map arcade racing game. Racist game, yes.
Sorry, I make the joke every time. I need to stop. It's just too fun.
But yes, it uses a 10-foot wide triple screen projector. It's like almost 180 degrees around you, and you're sitting like you're like a couple feet in front of it. So it is fully your whole peripheral, which in 1994 is crazy. And like if you look at like pictures of it, it's not pixelated at all. They used 3, I think Namco System 22 machines for each, like one for each screen. So you had like full res arcade like graphics on each projection screen, which is like that's an insane amount of pixels to be pushing in like the mid 90s. They took the car and they took the actual car controls, and that is how you play the game. They use the real steering wheel, use the real gas pedal, real brake. The clutch and the shifter both work. Apparently, I read the radio works somehow. I guess you can change the song in the game using the radio.
Amazing.
The ignition key starts the game naturally once you put a credit in. You push you turn the key. That's how you start the game.
That's awesome.
Apparently the gauge cluster also works. So your speed in the game and like the tachometer in the game map directly to like the real tachometer of like the Miata you're sitting in, which is fucking awesome. And there's speakers like under the hood and kind of like all like in the car to like simulate tire noise and like engine noise, which awesome. They were ahead of their time because the fucking like Mustang does this now. You're not allowed to have engine noises, so they pretend the engine makes noise just for you. But yeah, they had like full surround speakers around the whole thing for like the music. So this thing must have been like insanely loud.
It would have been really cool though.
I know. Apparently, so this I'm getting. Well, no, we'll get to that. How about we'll get to that? I'll say that a lot instead of saying apparently. Here's a screenshot of someone. Actually, I realized it's exactly what I'm trying to segue into. It would be awesome to play. I wish I could play it. There was one that was like last seen to be working in like the UK in like 2017, but someone bought it and then completely fucking just like neglected it. So there was like the whole like structure of it was like stored outside in the rain. The car is mostly intact, but like the windshield smashed and it's just not in very good condition. But all the signage and stuff is okay. The computer parts are okay. So they dump the ROM, and this is my favorite part, I think, of the whole thing, is the car that you drive. It's not the regular Ridge Racer car. It is
the car?
Yes,
That's
is the car. You drive a little red Mazda Miata. It's beautiful.
Awesome.
It's so good. So this person bought the arcade cabinet. They fucking neglected it. Apparently it's in someone else's hands now. The arcade, preservation community. So hopefully in the near future, you will be able to play Ridge Racer Full Scale sometime within my lifetime. There's also, I just keep yapping. The Yapper. The Yapper.
I should have like a button that makes like a really loud, incorrect buzzer noise for when I want to talk. No, that's too much.
My turn.
My turn.
There's if you go into like the sources cited at the bottom, there's always like scans of like old magazines. If you read some of them, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with it, or like I don't know if like
AVGN. What the fuck were they thinking?
Yeah, what were they thinking? A lot of magazines call Ridge Racer a highly realistic simulation. I don't know what kind of cars they were driving. I can think of other games released like in the proximity of Ridge Racer that handle more realistically than this game. Like maybe the graphics look good, right? But like this game handles batshit insane. Like no car in the universe drives like in Ridge Racer.
That's a person who has played 2 racing games, a Ridge Racer and Wipeout.
Yes. This was pre-Wipeout even. So this is like, I don't even know what you would have played. I don't know. Call it a simulation. I don't fucking know. This is they just cite random people who have no idea what's going on.
Right. Raises my hand. Can I go on a tangent real quick?
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So while you were talking, I was looking around at the genres, but specifically, I want to talk about fighting games, mainly because I think they're really fun, even though I'm so ass at them. But that's just how it is. Okay. So fighting games, just for anyone who is somehow not aware, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's usually just 2 players fighting, like typically 1v1 on like a 2D kind of thing, but a lot of games have like 3D as well. They're somewhat related to like beat 'em ups and other types, but not really. It's mostly due to the fact that beat 'em ups have like big pseudo 2.5D areas, whereas a lot of fighting games don't. But okay, you know what? I'm just gonna read the definition. Fighting games are a type of action game where 2 in one-on-one fighting games, or more, typically in platform fighters, like Smash Bros., on screen, fight each other. Games typically feature special moves triggered by button presses and joystick movements, traditionally showing fighters from a side view, even as the game has progressed from 2D to 3D graphics. Street Fighter II, not the first, is considered to have standardized like the fighting game genre.
Mm-hmm.
But
so we should call them Street Fighter 2 clones.
No. We should call them Karate Champ clones.
Oh my god. Combat clones.
Because Karate Champ, which was a fighting game developed in Japan, like around, I think, 84. Literally 1984, but like actually. It was like a player versus player one-on-one fighting game in like 2D arena, which some people say that the first fighting game was Heavyweight Champ, which was by Sega, which was an 8-bit black and white like boxing game where you fought against a computer player. But Karate Champ is considered like one of the first typical fighting games, considering it's 1 versus 1 on a 2D plane with like complex button inputs. The first fighting games were fundamentally inspired by martial arts films, typically those by like Bruce Lee, and other inspiration is Japanese martial arts like works, including like manga and anime series, but a lot of the original ones, especially in the West, were boxing games, Speaking of Atari and funnily named games, one-on-one boxing games appeared on consoles with Atari's VCS game called Boxing in 1980. It was just called Boxing.
It does exactly what it says on the tin.
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's two guys from a top-down view and they punch each other.
Oh, it's top-down?
Yes.
Ew.
It's top-down, and this is what it looked like. It's also featured in Call of Duty Cold War as an in-game Easter egg.
Oh, yeah, I can believe that. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Oh, this game!
Yes,
oh,
this is Boxing.
Dog shit.
Yeah, and tying back to original Atari genres, it was considered one of their arcade games.
I would like to just describe the color of this fucking thing. It is like it's the most 70s puke green you could ever imagine. Yes, imagine like the color of a green shag carpet.
Yeah,
it's like that. That's the background, and then there's like a little golden yellow, like piss yellow, like a ring around them.
Vaguely like a square.
Yes.
And then there's like two guys beating each other up.
Well, they're more like spaghetti people with like circles for hands.
This is like what Mr. Game & Watch looks like from top down.
Yeah. It's if the game Arms on the Switch was 2D.
Yes.
That's what their arms look like.
One thing I want to talk about is how a lot of fighting games have completely batshit theming and stories. Of course, we understand this with stuff like Street Fighter, and there's tons of other games with like completely like insane like aesthetic and story derangement. Like Punch-Out. I guess Punch-Out's a fighting game, even though it's against a computer. I guess it counts.
I think it is.
Punch-Out, notably controversial for most of its opponents being racial stereotypes, but
and
you know.
Also Mike Tyson.
And also Mike Tyson. He's also there.
Actually, I was going to say in hindsight he's controversial. No, even then he was controversial.
Even then, and still now. But this is mostly just a segue for me to talk about something that I really like, and that's Guilty Gear.
Be mindful if you ever look up Mike Tyson quotes. Just putting that out there.
I assume I think I know what you're referring to, and I think there are slurs.
Oh, there's an obvious one that you can think of, but there's so many more from back then.
I still think the funniest Mike Tyson quote is, "I want to kill people. I want to rip out their stomachs and eat their children."
The original Dracula flow.
Exactly. I mean, somewhat, yeah. So basically, Guilty Gear is completely deranged in terms of story and tone. It's really hard to explain what this game is even about, because a lot of people don't really care much about the story of fighting games, but I do, and Guilty Gear is really, really, really dumb. Let me find the manual for the original Guilty Gear. I'm going to try and find a scan.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I miss when manuals had, like, lore in them.
I agree. I miss when manuals told you how to play the game, so if you, like, forgot, you can just go back and look. That it hurts my soul when I come back to a game and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, until you play an old game that has no tutorial or anything, and you have to read the manual, and then you go open the case for it because you have a physical copy and you don't have a manual, and no one scanned it in online, and you're just...
This sounds very specific. When did this happen?
This happens a lot.
I found the manual for the original Guilty Gear, The Missing Link, and it's... Even this is, like, completely insane. The 22nd century, mankind has succeeded in his dream of developing a natural, limitless energy supply.
Okay, when did the first Guilty Gear come out, and why did they release it with a subtitle already?
I don't even know, but it came out in 98 for the original PlayStation. In Japan. Okay. In North America, it came out 31st, and in the EU, it was in 2000. It was the 22nd century. Mankind succeeded in his dream of developing a natural, limitless energy supply. It was dawning the age of magic. Science and industry, the source of environmental pollution, weapons of mass destruction, were completely outlawed. This controversial decision was to bring history as mankind knew it to an end.
Illegalize nuclear bombs.
The abolition of technology did little to soothe mankind's suffering. A war erupted, fueled by fearsome weapons based on rapidly developing magical theory. Eventually, shockingly powerful biological weapons were produced by fusing humans and animals with magic, resulting in a horrible mix of vitality and raw strength. these were called the Gears. It's so funny to even read because it's so stupid.
Magical theory. Can we circle back around to fucking
Circle back to magic
theory?
rapidly developing magical theory in the 22nd century.
God, this is the most PS1 Japanese game I've ever fucking heard.
Even into the newest release, they haven't even toned it down in the slightest, and I love it.
We invented wizards, by the way.
They discovered magic and were like, this is cool, so they just like banned every technology ever and industry.
Time for human experiments.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna read the rest of it because it's long, but like TLDR, the Gears were meant to be living weapons and never actually considered real people until one of them, their name was Justice, appeared and declared war on all of mankind with the support of the Gears. And they formed a like holy order to kill the Gears, and they had like several wars which they came to call the Crusades as well. And then they sealed Justice in like the dimensional crystal prison or something.
Get in the crystal, buddy.
Yeah, get in the crystal. Yeah, they sealed Justice in the crystal, and it centers around a guy named, I think his name is Frederick. So the series surrounds a guy named Frederick Bulsara, who was one of the head scientists on creating Gears. And he completely regretted what he did, but in the research, he also became a Gear himself. And that's why the series is called Guilty Gear, because he is the guilty Gear who seeks to kill the rest of the Gears because he feels bad about what he brought upon the world. So he sought to fix this by killing every Gear, but he realized he couldn't use his name for it, so he calls himself Soul Bad Guy. That's what he calls himself. So I'm a big fan of how Guilty Gear has a ton of like actual character profiles, and a lot of them are really funny. Like Soul Bad Guy, one thing that he really wants you to know about him is that he loves Queen.
Like the band, the Queen?
Yeah, like the band Queen. He's a big fan. In fact, the guy who made Guilty Gear really loves Queen as well. A lot of the stuff in the games are based around like music, and mostly a lot of characters and their moves are named after like songs and music related stuff every once in a while. So basically, Soul's hobby is just listed as listening to Queen. He's chill like that, I guess.
Well, I have had something pulled up since pretty early on when we were talking about actually going through the definition of what a video game is on Wikipedia. When you mentioned the Merlin electronic console, which is not a video game, there's one thing that it made me think of that is technically a video game, but it's not actually a video game. It's bullshit. So there's a picture of it. This is called the Action Max. The Action Max was an attempt.
Go on.
It was an attempt to make VHS video games.
I love this thing.
Because, this was pretty before like CDs were like really a thing. Like they existed around this time, but most people couldn't afford any kind of CDs, yet alone video CDs didn't exist yet. And game carts were very expensive. It was cheap? VHS tapes. So the company came out with this thing that you actually like plugged between your TV and your VCR. Like it didn't actually play the tape itself. You still needed a VCR and the TV, except it was complete bullshit and smoke and mirrors. Because when you bought one of the 5 VHSs that they released before the company went under, 5.
Wow.
They released 5. You bought one of the 5 and you played it, and it actually just kept score of how many times you shot the target on screen with the light gun it came with. Nothing actually changed. If you just watch the VHS tape, because of course it's a fucking VHS tape and a VHS player, the exact same thing would happen. So all it really did was keep score of how many times you pulled that trigger against how many times the little light flashed in its single frame on the TV. And they charged a lot of money for this.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the exact price because I know that the price changed very quickly after it came out. But Yeah, it was a whole bunch of smoke and
I
mirrors,
love
and
this thing.
of the five VHSs they released, because you had to have their specific VHSs, only one of them was actually based on a real film or property, and that was based on the 1983, actually not 84 movie of Blue Thunder.
Well, is that the airplane one? I think there was an airplane one. I think. I may be imagining
let me
things.
see. You are not imagining things.
Okay.
So there's absolutely an airplane
There's like a jet
one.
one.
Yeah, there's definitely a jet one. That one is, yes, that's the one. That it does have a scene with a jet, but it does also have some other stuff. There's also Sonic Fury, which is like just like jets and shit.
Okay.
So it's like just flying stuff. And then there's like a cop one, and
Of course.
but yeah, by definition, that counts as a video game system, even though the Merlin LED console is actually more of a
Yes.
game.
Oh my god. I want to segue off from Ridge Racer from earlier. This is vital. Okay. I also want to say there were several links to the Zeebo on the Ridge Racer page, because there is a Zeebo Ridge Racer port. But I did not click any of the links for the Zeebo, because that's no fun. Everyone knows about the Zeebo, I hope. Fucking stupid Brazil.
You might be surprised at how few people actually know
No,
the
that's
Zeebo
fair. That's
is.
fair. I think just in my circles or our circles, people know about the Zeebo. It's a stupid Brazilian video game console. My segue from Ridge Racer from earlier, I have the article pulled up for Shinji Hosoe. I think that's how you say it. Obligatory white man saying not a white man name. We're just gonna get that out of the way. I think that's how you say it. This man fucking cooked. Okay, he's the main composer for Ridge Racer, the first one, arcade and PS1 and all that. But he scored a lot of cool stuff while he was working in the industry. He eventually started his own video game music publishing company or something, or studio or something like that. But he's a very wide range. He does jazz fusion, which I would like to listen to
Awesome.
more of.
Okay.
Jazz fusion is sick.
It's peak. It's good.
I was reading kind of his early life inspirations and all that. There's a couple listed that I did check out. It says at age 8 he bought a tape for an analog synth arrangement of The Planets by Isao Tomita, is how I'm gonna say it. So that this man was listening to fucking like classical music arrangements, but like only by one guy on a synth. And I did listen to it, and it's like exactly what it sounds like, and it's incredible. Just like the craziest synth noises you've ever heard, but like as a fucking like classical music arrangement. It's awesome. And then also Yellow Magic Orchestra, which is apparently one of the first bands to popularize pop synth music. So like they were doing complete synth arrangements as well. He was I think a bass player in like a tribute band to them in high school, I read, which is very cool. You should look up Yellow Magic Orchestra. They're pretty cool.
I will at some point.
So he joined Namco in 1985 as a part-time game tester and CG artist. He had no interest in music, like growing up or anything. Like apparently he said this, but he was still like a bass player in like a tribute band. But he still said, "I have no interest in music." I don't know how that works, but this is what was cited from an interview. Yeah, during this time, he merely created music as a hobby in his spare time. After showing his music to fellow coworkers, he was reassigned the position of a composer in 1986. And I have to say, this is a rookie mistake on his part. Okay, you do not, under no circumstances, do you want to make yourself important at your job. Never. Don't ever do that. I'm glad he did. Okay, because we got some good music out of it. But for his sake, I'm so sorry that he made himself important. And the first game that he put hardcore techno music in quotation marks, because that's what it said, was a game called Fighter Attacker. And I did give it a listen. And the soundtrack, it's like spitting image to like Ridge Racer a little bit, but more top-down, like shmup kind of themed. It's pretty cool. It's a good soundtrack and a pretty cool looking game. He also did the soundtrack for Driving Emotion Type S, which I'm so sorry for him. I mean, he might be the only good thing in that game.
You know, I have played that. I will say the music is by far the best part of that game.
It goes down in history for something, at least. Anyhow, go ahead.
Scratch asking about a specific country because I found something that was really interesting. Is that allegedly, I did not find any actual source on this, is that Mega Man 5 was thought to be banned in Vietnam.
Thought to be?
Thought to be, because I can't find any sources on it. I can't find any sources on it, so you want to try and guess why?
Was there French things in it?
No, but look up the... Hold on. Just look up the Robot Masters in Mega Man 5 and guess which one would have been kind of controversial. It's a pretty obvious reason why he would be kind of controversial.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
You know.
We're talking about Napalm Man.
That'll do it.
Napalm Man, not notable for being, like, a weapon of war and, like, designed to burn people alive, but Napalm Man's stage is notable for containing stuff that looks rather similar to the atmosphere of Vietnam and the Vietnam War.
Uh-oh. Mega Man 6 coming in hot with Agent Orange Man.
Oh.
Don't do that.
Let's talk about Napalm Man's stage real quick. With the tiger enemies, the palm trees and jungles, and the spike traps.
Oh, no!
Oh.
No, you can't do
and
that!
the underground tunnel system. The entire section of the level that's underground.
No. They didn't even try.
They didn't even try.
Yeah, they just did the Vietnam War in the game. That's all they did.
They just added the Vietnam War to Mega Man.
I got more. I got 4 more things.
You got 1 million.
Yeah, I got millions of things.
Yeah, you got millions of things.
This is the rabbit hole I decided to go down after the Ridge Racer composer. I decided to go down the article for Fighter and Attacker, the first game that he did with his now iconic techno/rave soundtrack. It was a top-down shmup, shoot-'em-up arcade game. This article's not that important. This is just a link to another one. But apparently this was the 7th most popular arcade game in Japan of November 1992. So, you know, gem alert, okay? We got a good game on our hands here, apparently. The most important part here, Fighter and Attacker was programmed for the Namco NA1 arcade board, which supported titles such as Tinkle Pit and Cosmo Gang the Puzzle. And I can't skip on a name like Tinkle Pit, okay? So I'm in the Tinkle Pit. Everybody knows, okay? KSI has infected my brain with the Tinkle Pit. It's, again, not that interesting of an arcade game, but such is the depths of Wikipedia, right? It's, you know, on the face of it, not that interesting. However,
in the thick of it, everybody knows.
Yes.
Sorry, this is the second time I've brought up thick of it. I'm so sorry. It's just such a heavily memeable song. It's so awful. We should have an episode about music so I can talk about more dumb stuff.
An episode about Kaya. No, we're not doing that.
No.
So this game isn't that interesting, but it's a pretty cute game. It's got cute graphics. I can't lie. Let me pull up the screenshot for y'all. It's like a little like pastel, fun looking arcade game, you know. Absolutely incomprehensible, however. It's got characters from other Namco games in it. So you can play as the little fuckers from Dig Dug. You can play as Pac-Man. You can play as Mappy from Mappy, and the Flag from Rally X. That's a character, apparently. Just the Flag from the game. The gameplay description is beautiful. It's giving me like just Poobit energy. You can look it up on Poob. It's on Poob for you.
It's on Poob. You can Poob it.
I want you to read this, Jill. You have like the perfect like intonation to read this.
All right.
You read insane descriptions very well.
All right. Pit and Patty must walk around in the mazes, collecting items and avoiding enemies, which include the Heitai from Toy Pop along with the Pookies and Vigars from Dig Dug. You're right, this is a you can poop it ass name. However, they have the power to drop their Tinker Balls, which are both invulnerable to the enemies and move around by pressing the line button, thereby creating a line between them and their balls. Releasing the button makes their balls come back to them. The enemies are killed by having the balls slam into them. There are also pieces of popcorn which can be picked up around the mazes, and pressing the popcorn button, Patty can throw them at the enemies, which bounce off the walls until they hit an enemy, or evaporate if they have not done so by the end of the stage. Killing all enemies in a maze advances the player to the next stage. However, in the event of one enemy remaining, he will make for the nearest corner of the maze, say bye-bye, and disappear, which detracts from the pursuit bonus that the players receive after they defeat Mao at the end of the game. What the fuck is Mao? Like Mao Zedong?
Mao Zedong? I don't fucking know.
I don't know. What game is this again?
Tinkle Pit. Fucking
Tinkle Pit.
Tinkle Pit.
Tinkle Pit. I can't even find anything about a guy named Mao.
I'm assuming it's like another like Namco character, but I can't pull up anything.
Releasing the button makes their balls come back to them.
The balls button.
The balls button.
Tinker Balls. So stupid. Apparently this game also got a re-release last year. Like you can play Tinkle Pit legally right now. You can play it on your Poob Station 4.
Stop listening. Go on your Poob Station and play Tinkle Pit.
I heavily considered playing it for this because I need to know.
You need to know
what does the balls button do.
You should just have that and like edit it in post. Just like edit it in like the middle of this segment. Just add gameplay or something.
8 hour long play of Tinkle Pit.
Tinkle Pit long play, exactly. Trying to think of. So back to Guilty Gear. Another interesting thing that I found that was funny is that I was looking at the voice actors, and it turns out the guy who voices Soul in Korean actually voices a character in another game I really like, Limbus Company, which I've surely talked to you about a lot.
The way you said that, it sounded like you were going to start saying Limp Bizkit. I don't know.
No. Limp Bizkit Company? I don't know. What the fuck do they do at the Limp Bizkit Company? Do they make nookies? They stick it up your and stick it up your I don't fucking but
the company just kept rolling up.
Yeah, they just rolled further and further down. I don't think they're coming back after this one, man.
They got a chainsaw. It's actually a wood cutting company.
They fell off and they had to rebrand. So, anyways, the funny thing about Limbus Company
air raid version
is that the guy who voices Soul Bad Guy is notable for voicing Gregor Samsa from The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka in Limbus Company. Which the game is interesting because all of its main characters are based off of classic novels. Like, sure, you got fucking Don Quixote. Don is here. Completely delusional, as is tradition. But another interesting thing, on this one specific voice actor, he's also notable for voicing Barney in Korean Half-Life, and Mr. Krabs in Korean SpongeBob.
Jesus.
Yes.
So, speaking of voice actors, I actually have a little rabbit hole here that I was finding myself in after we were looking at the banned games list. Because one of the banned games, I've actually played it before. I don't think it's a terrible game, but it's interesting. Is the PlayStation 2 game Reservoir Dogs?
Oh yes,
based on the movie Reservoir Dogs. And I was just looking, and I was like, yeah, weren't one of the voice actors like actually one of the actors? And yes, Michael Madsen was the only actor from the movie that actually returned to do his voice role in the game. You know, the wonderful Michael Madsen of Crime Boss Rocky City, or John Tanner from Driver 3 or Drive 3er. But there's one other very interesting credit he has from 2005, and I never realized this.
Oh.
He was in the English dub of
Yes,
Yakuza.
I feel like someone said
10
this
years
the
in the
other
joint.
day.
So actually, this is going to be more for Joe, because I know Joe knows more about Yakuza.
Yeah.
Who do you think Michael Madsen voice acted?
In which, the original Yakuza?
Yes, he was. Yeah, he did the English dub of Yakuza 1 on the PS2.
Okay, hold on. Let me think. Oh my god. It's Shimano, isn't it?
It's Shimano.
Oh, I hate Yakuza English dub so much. They're so bad.
It's so bad, but it is the greatest thing that's
10
ever
years in the
existed.
joint made you a fucking pussy. Bring that shit, Kazuma.
Oh,
I need to find the video of the Mark Hamill Majima that was like, yeah.
I mean, according to him, it doesn't exist, but you know.
Yeah, according to Hamill, it doesn't exist, and I don't know if it's that he was ashamed of it, which, I mean, entirely reasonable, or if he just doesn't remember that it happened. Also,
it is kind of funny though if you do like go through the list of the voice actors of that English dub. Like most of the people there, you've probably never heard of and haven't really worked on anything else, with the exception of Michael Madsen and Mark Hamill. Like those are like the two VAs in there that have actually done a lot of stuff.
Also, yeah, I read a lot about visual novels, which I need to get the page up because I accidentally closed fucking my tabs.
Oh god.
Hold on. I'm so stupid. I had like 7 different tabs of pages open.
Here, take a second, find it.
I found it.
Okay, I got a couple more. Yeah, I got a couple more.
Yeah,
in
you
here.
go first. You go
Okay.
first. I've been talking a lot, so.
Okay, so this one is next down the rabbit hole after Tinkle Pit. Okay, we have the current publishers of Tinkle Pit, not Namco. I don't know how arcade licensing works. So Tinkle Pit is now published by a company called Hamster Corporation, and that is the page we're on now. It's again not terribly interesting of a page here, but again, this is a step. It's a step. We're taking steps. I don't know how arcade licensing works. Like apparently they just license out their fucking games to just anyone. Like if they're just over them, they don't want them anymore. They just let fucking Hamster Corporation take over, even though there's a ton of Namco IPs in there.
Average arcade moment, honestly.
Tinkle Pit also, it has Miss Pac-Man in it. They had to remove.
Oh, I don't want to play with you anymore. I'm gonna sell you off to somebody else who doesn't care either.
They had to remove Miss Pac-Man from Tinkle Pit, so they had to edit the files or the ROM for Tinkle Pit to remove Miss Pac-Man, since there's an ongoing dispute with, I think, At Games or something, or Williams owns the rights to like Miss Pac-Man. I don't fucking know, dude.
Fucking At Games, I swear to God.
But yes, they're the publishers of the Arcade Archives collections that flood the Switch eShop. So if you want to thank anyone for that, you can thank Hamster Corporation, the wonderful
Thanks, Hamster
people
Corporation.
behind everyone's favorite arcade games that nobody plays.
Yes.
Here's a list of random titles I picked from their library that they are currently publishing. They published a game called City Connection on the 3DS, which is like a port of like a 1983 arcade game where you play as a blue-haired teenage girl driving an orange Honda City hatchback to paint platforms. It's a platformer, but you play as a car for some reason. But it has a Honda City, like that it is licensed a Honda City. It's awesome.
They licensed a Honda City?
Apparently.
That's kind of awesome.
They're also the publishers of the Heavy Fire games.
Not to be confused with Heavy Rain.
No, Heavy Fire. It's the other one. That Heavy Earth. That's a different game.
And Heavy Wind.
Heavy Wind.
Heavy Earth, Wind, and Fire. Notable for their song Heavy September.
It's like one of those fuck ass like 2010s brown and gray military shooters, but it is brown bricks. Yes, very much so. It's an on-rail shooter that was popular on the Wii and the Xbox Kinect, and the 3DS apparently has one, but they suck.
You have any screenshots?
They're just imagine it in your head, and then I'll pull up a screenshot.
Okay. I'm envisioning.
Pull up the 3DS one. Oh no, here we go. We have a screenshot on the Wikipedia. It's the most brown game.
Oh, yeah, that's brown. That's brown.
Where you, of course, shoot terrorists without mercy, because that's what happened in the 2010s.
Because that's like what 50% of the games in the 2010s were about.
Yes. I think you can still get some of
Basically.
these on Steam for some reason. So if you would like to try them, that they're not worth your money, don't buy them.
You don't buy them. You can play other games about killing terrorists that are probably better.
Like Tinkle Pit.
But just don't. Yeah, Tinkle Pit is about killing terrorists?
With your balls?
This is news to me. Yeah, with your balls, you slam your balls into them, and then when you release the button, your balls come back? Ooh. Alright, that's insane. I never knew this.
They also published a game called the Conveni 2000X. This is the most obscure article I found. I put the entire article in here so I can just read it off. The Conveni, I'm going to read it Conveni because it's supposed to be a convenience store game. Conveni is a convenience store simulation game designed for the Xbox 360 system. The game was released on March 30th, 2006, and it was developed by Masterpiece and published by Hamster Corporation. That's the whole article. But this is apparently part of a series that goes back like all the way to the PS1, which it looks beautiful. It's like if you took SimCity and just scaled it down to a convenience store scale. You can like build your entire convenience store. I would love to play it. It looks extremely whimsical. Oh my god, it has a Windows version? This I didn't know. Here's a screenshot. It's literally just like top down like pixel art of like, you know,
that's awesome.
You set up your little convenience store and the little people go in.
I would love to play. I think I would love this actually.
It's sick as hell. Oh, it has a Sega Saturn release.
Oh, it's got a Saturn version?
Apparently.
Ooh, I need that.
So,
fancy.
Yeah, get on that shit. Play the Conveni, however you
something
say
like
it.
That.
Yeah, something
I'll figure
like
that out.
Yeah.
It's not important. It's left up to interpretation.
Yes.
Viewers, you decide. Yeah.
So yes, that's my most obscure article, but there is one more. This is like my best article is my
Your
last
best article?
one.
I found it. It's like a $10 game.
Hell yes.
Awesome.
I need it.
So my last Wikipedia article, the last thing that graced my eyeballs on this journey was the article for Nihon Busan. It is a now defunct Japanese video game developer and publisher headquartered in Kita, Osaka. In the past, they also produced and sold yachts. Apparently. We will get back to that. That is the
Japanese company, right?
Well, okay, we'll get back to that though. Okay, because that's the reason I clicked on the article.
Okay,
but I have news. We'll go over the rest of their stuff that's like actually notable, and then we'll talk about the yachts. The Wikipedia article says they make yachts once. It only says this once in the top header. It's never mentioned again. There's no additional information on the yachts. The main brand of the company was called Nichibutsu, I think, with with adult video games, mainly strip mahjong arcade games coming under
strip mahjong.
the Sphinx brand. The company used a horned owl for its official logo. So this page is linked from Hamster because the CEO of Nihon Busan founded the company like 1973 or some shit. And they were doing this shit until like 2015, and the guy just wanted to retire. So instead of like, you know, keeping the company alive, he just said, fuck it, I'm gonna retire, I give up. He just sold everything to Hamster Corporation. It just doesn't exist anymore, which is awesome.
Hamster Corporation total takeover.
Yes. They just took all the rights to all of their games. They just sold it. And I respect the fuck out of that. No legacy. It's just gone. So in 1983, the company developed Jangu Night, which features the industry's first undressing elements, and established the game of established the genre of strip mahjong games. They were fucking innovators. Okay, they invented strip mahjong. Okay, fucking scumbags. I would like to emphasize that it all ties back to porn and scummy video game companies.
You know it.
Every single paragraph of this article mentions that they did strip mahjong games at least once. This is their thing. They did so much of this like strip mahjong porn games. They got kicked out of or were forced to like resign from like the JAMA Association, which is like Japanese like arcade manufacturing association or whatever. It's self-explanatory, I guess. It's just the club you need to be in to make arcade games. Because the association began showing concerns about increasingly risque material in their strip mahjong games.
In their strip mahjong games.
Yes.
I see.
The games that were about stripping were too sexual.
Sexy.
Yes.
Too sexy. Okay.
Who could have thought?
So the way they got started, before they made strip mahjong, right? That was like the 80s. They just made ripoffs of like every arcade game they could.
Awesome.
They made multiple ripoffs of like any arcade game that like came out.
As you should.
Then they just slapped random like unassociated properties on them. So here's one for their clone of I think Asteroids or something. That's called Moonbase. It just has Darth Vader on it.
That's
Star
just Darth
Wars
Vader.
font. It has nothing to do with
X-Wing
Star Wars.
and X-Wings and TIE fighters.
Exactly. It just put Darth Vader and Star Wars.
It might look like Star Wars, but due to copyright law, it isn't.
Yes.
It's Moonbase.
They made 5 Breakout clones, 2 Circus clones, 4 Space Invader clones, and several clones of Galaxian, and the list goes on until they got sued. So that's when they pivoted to strip mahjong naturally. Here's Moon Trek, which is unsurprisingly just Star Trek, and then we've let the strip mahjong cat out of the bag. So I'm gonna cover the Lady Hunter, which puts
that's a bad Batman?
Pedophile Batman or something. It's just Japanese anime strip mahjong Batman. He's dressed in blue. I don't know. I saw a screenshot of this game, the title screen of this game. There's just like a screenshot of the Batmobile from like 1989 Batman on the title screen of this game. Just like a picture from like the movie or something.
Just a screen, just a picture.
Yes.
Okay.
It's wonderful. Amazing. These fucking scumbags. They didn't stop ripping things off even after they got sued for ripping things off. They just did it in porn. They also made a bunch of like stolen anime licensed mahjong, like strip mahjong games. So like Sailor Moon and the other one. What's the one like the girl with like the blue hair and the tiger print like
what?
Thing?
Oh, the anime?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
The
what you're
anime?
talking
Hold
about.
on.
Yeah, they made one of that.
Lum.
Yes. So they were just making like porn of teenage girls, basically.
All right.
So that's the level we're dealing at here.
That's the level we're dealing.
Yes. So they made like hundreds of these. There's an entire article. If you want to read it, it's called "Tits and Tiles: the NSFW history of strip mahjong," that goes into great detail on this.
More detail?
Yes. So if you would like the history of the innovations here, there's plenty of that.
I'm fascinated, but I don't think I'm ready to read this like mentally. I'm not prepared.
The other thing they're known for that's not strip mahjong, I have to mention, okay, 1,000,000 times, that all they did was strip mahjong. They also did racing games, inexplicably. Like, they just liked...
Strip racing?
They just liked...
But it's also mahjong?
They just liked F1, so they made like knockoff F1 games until they got the license. They like sponsored Lotus, the racing team, so they only had the Lotus license in the game. Here, there's also an image of like a 90s F1 car with like tons of logos all over it, and then like on the spoiler, there's just a tiny little logo of Nishibutsu on there, like the little owl. It's a
awesome.
Beautiful car and a beautiful logo and a beautiful story.
That's great.
So they made like dozens of these like knockoff F1 racing games, like up until like the PS1 was the last one. And I looked up some gameplay of it, and it is horrible. I think the 2D ones were better. I think they made them on like PC Engine. Those were apparently okay, and like Super Nintendo. They're called F1 Circus, which is a hell of a name. But that's their other claim to fame, is ripping off F1. And then to bring it back around to the yachts, the yachts aren't real.
Did they play strip mahjong on those?
I don't think so, because they're from what I can tell, toy yachts. They're like model yachts, but it's cited as like regular yachts on the Wikipedia page.
Really? Oh.
But like I went through the history. I was like, when did this come up? Like who put this here? In sometime, I think like around like 2013 or something, someone said something about model yachts, and they did cite a random like Japanese website where someone was reviewing model yachts, and their name was mentioned once in translation. And that was, I'll accept that, right? But then someone went and removed the model part like 5 years later. So now it just says yachts. I don't even know.
It's just yachts.
It's just
okay.
it's just model yachts. I don't know. I don't even know
they're
anymore.
Listed as like real yachts.
Yes. I clicked on this article because it said yachts, and instead I got strip mahjong. And I don't think I can top that. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's my
Honestly, I can't even top that.
That's my rabbit hole.
I'd say this is a good spot to stop.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, it was really fun, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing this again. At some point. Yeah.
It was a good time. I had a great time.
Yeah, I had a great time. And I'm very much looking forward to doing this again and seeing what more stuff we could talk about. Maybe if we can have other people on sometime too as well. I don't know.
Absolutely. Hell yes.
It was fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for anyone that's listening. I acknowledge you.
Yeah,
I see
especially thank you to anyone who was
made
here.
it this far.
Yeah, who made it this far.
We will decide what the next episode will be, if there is a next episode. Look out for that.
I hope there will be.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a
Yeah.
timing thing than a motivation thing, because I think that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So hell yeah, let's do this. I'm gonna hit the button. I'm gonna see you guys later. I will. Let's wrap it. See ya.
See ya.
Goodbye.